What up, Hyperchange? Welcome to another episode. Today we're going to be talking about one of the most exciting startups that you probably have never heard of, a company called Carta, that I think is bringing software to eat Wall Street and is setting up to be one of the biggest and most important companies reinventing and digitizing our financial infrastructure that is going to have huge implications to even huge investors and tiny investors, and just itself is a fascinating company to watch. So for this episode, I want to go through why I'm so excited about Carta. First, as a customer myself, I love the platform. Then about why I think I would be investing hand over fist in this valuation if I could, because I'm so excited about the potential of this company. And then why, for you as an investor, this could be a game changer of bringing transparency and liquidity earlier of amazing private companies to the public, essentially, and why that could be hugely exciting for us all, sort of small time nerdy tech investors. And so anyway, let's get right into it. Carta is a startup founded in 2012. They have about 500 employees based in Silicon Valley, of course, founded by Henry Ward, who's still the CEO today. And Carta's main business is cap table management. So they are essentially a software as a service database of who owns stock in your company and how much stock they own. And it's a platform for basically sending and transferring stock, issuing stock, doing secondaries, valuing my company, raising capital. All of that sits on top of the cap table which Carta owns. So I'm a customer of Carta. Hyperchange LLC, my startup that owns the YouTube channel that you're watching, is a startup, and I decided to get on Carta and list my cap table there so I could issue stock to some of my friends who help me make videos and pay people like that because I didn't have money to start. And additionally, I raised like a little bit of angel funding for this YouTube channel, and I did it with 0 lawyers. Granted, it was with like mentors and people that I'm very close and comfortable with, so I'm not recommending that's how you do things, but the point being is I didn't need a single lawyer to issue my equity for my investors because I had my cap table on Carta. I sent them the shares through the Carta platform. We both signed for it on Carta. There's a record of that transaction. That my investors get their shares in their account. There's none. So the paperwork was all digitized. It was all seamless. Everybody gets the shares in their account. There's no questions asked, and I didn't pay a single fee for lawyers. And so and it happened instantly. And so I love Carta as a customer, and they made it so easy for me. And I think this is an incredible business because it's so sticky. Once my cap table is on Carta, once everyone who is a shareholder in Hyperchange is on Carta, and that's how I've issued all my stock. I have a record of who I'm issuing stock to, what options are vesting. Like, that's such a sticky business. I'm never gonna leave. And Carta's gonna grow with me. And so I think Carta is really digitizing the future of equity ownership and starting with private companies, and that is a tremendous business opportunity. So Carta today just raised $300 million at a $1.7 billion valuation with the lead investor of Andreessen Horowitz. Goldman Sachs Principal Investment Group participated in the round. So did Lightspeed Ventures, like the who's who of Silicon Valley financial bigwigs. Mark Andreessen has this quote in the funding round. He also joined the board of Carta, and he says that we believe Carta will change how Wall Street and the financial world would operate by transforming private markets. Carta has created an extensive network of LPs, VCs, and growing startups. That network effect is why I'm bullish on the future of this company. Carta is redefining business ownership as we know it. And that's from the god himself of tech, of Silicon Valley VC, Mark Andreessen, who's like a hero and legend of mine, incredible VC investor. He started A16Z, he started Netscape. He wrote that op-ed of why software is eating the world. And I think Carta is the company that is the example of software is eating Wall Street. And that's why Goldman Sachs is investing in Carta, because they know that they are coming for their business. I'm going to tell you how in a second, but let's look at what Carta is today. So what I love about Carta is they're so transparent. So in their previous funding round, Series D funding round, they announced 4 months ago, which is crazy. So hear me out on this. In December, they announced a Series D round at $800 million valuation. And now they just announced a Series E round at $1.7 billion. In 5 months, they more than doubled in value. That's a startup to watch. Anyway, the point is, in that Series D pitch deck, they show this slide, which shows their annual recurring revenue, and you can see it's about 50 million, and then they confirm that in the Series E blog post that they're about 50 million in ARR, I believe. somewhere in there. Anyway, the point is, Carta is looking at about $50 million business, but its annual recurring revenue, it's growing like, it looks like about 100%. And so with a market cap of 1.7 billion at the latest funding round, but only a 50 million revenue run rate, we're looking at about 34 times price sales, which seems incredibly expensive. And you'd be like, oh my God, that's such a bubble. But I would be buying hand over fist at 34 times sales. And I think I wish I could get on Carta's cap table because I think this has huge potential. And first of all, if you're growing at 100%, that 34 times price sales ratio, if you're forward looking, we're going to hit 100 million in revenue in a year or so, compresses dramatically to 17x. And then, if they keep growing, that'll keep compressing dramatically. So if you just, it looks expensive, but if you take into account how rapidly Carta is growing, then I think you'll see why you get so excited. And the other thing I want to point out in their Series E blog post here is they say they have more than $575 billion worth of assets. So that means out of all the really exciting little startups that have signed up for Carta, they have more than 11,000 companies or companies and investors on their platform, more than 700,000 shareholders. Those companies' combined market cap is $575 billion. So think about the valuation this way. $575 billion divided by 1.7 is like 0.3%. Carta is worth 0.3% of the assets on its platform. And think about it. The assets on its platform are these incredibly rapidly growing startups, which could explode in value and, rapidly rise the AUM into, several trillions. And then you also have the fact that they are constantly adding new customers and clients, which will provide even more growth. So I see Carta's assets growing to trillions of dollars in the very, very near term. And if you value the company, on 1% of the assets on its platform, you can get to a valuation of 10, 20 billion quickly when they hit the trillions of assets. So and where this is all going, one clue that they put in their Series E press release and they've been putting in their press is this mention of Carta X, which is, I can't really figure out what it is. It's maybe sounds like some sort of future exchange or private marketplace where it makes it a lot easier to buy and sell shares. Because, the way I look at Carta, and I don't know how they're going to make money and really what the business model is going to look like, but I know they are sitting on like a gold mine. They are basically an untapped oil well. Excuse the analogy for all our Tesla fan tree huggers like myself, but and this is actually my friend Jay Filchi, who you probably have seen on this channel, works at Carta. And so, he's helped me understand their business. And he told me this analogy about Carta, which is, they're basically like an oil well of sitting on, every company is like an oil well that's exploding in value. And they're just sitting on all of these incredible oil wells that are untapped because they're not allowing people to invest and get on these cap tables. But the second that Carta builds either the regulatory or product infrastructure to allow either small investors or even just institutions to transact and get on the cap tables of every company on its platform. I mean, you're talking about a NASDAQ competitor, a New York Stock Exchange competitor with way better companies on it at way earlier stages. If you're a nerdy tech investor like myself, like I am rooting for Carta so much because I want to see them transform the private market and allow it to be more accessible and transparent and allow me to invest and get the shot to invest in these amazing companies that are being created in the American economy. Like there's so much value that are being created by these startups and by these amazing entrepreneurs, but it's flowing to the VCs who are funded by super rich people, and it's only getting concentrated in the hands of the uber wealthy. And there's this massive dichotomy in that, Uber and Lyft are IPOing at $20 billion, $90 billion valuations, and the little guys missed the ride. The earliest customers, the earliest users, the earliest employees have all missed the opportunity to buy equity in that company. And that to me is a shame and is really unfair. And I think that Carta could unlock, and by digitizing the cap table and making it digital, I think they could unlock access to the cap table in unprecedented ways. And this has the potential to transform the financial system. And I think Carta, when you think about, like, just for example, let's take what the IPO process is today. Like when you want to IPO, and we're seeing a bunch of changes where Slack and Spotify are direct listing, when you want to IPO, you're shopping around to all these investment banks, you're doing the road show, you're trying, it's super archaic legacy, process that hasn't been digitized. Imagine if you could constantly run pricing auctions and mini secondaries leading up to your actual exchange and listing, which a platform like Carta could offer. And then you're basically like naturally and organically building up a market demand for that company. You literally have automated out the role of the investment banker, which charges hundreds of basis points of fees per IPO. So why do you think companies like Morgan Stanley are paying $1 billion to buy Carta's biggest competitor, Solium? Why is Goldman Sachs investing in this? And why did the valuation just double in the past 4 months? Because everyone is realizing that Carta has laid the fundamental groundwork to capture an immense amount of value of all of these amazing startups. And a lot of what I'm saying right now is just speculation and ideas and potential, but what I see for Carta is a company that is executing. They're a company with a product that I love, that I use myself, that has provided me tremendous value. And they have Mark Andreessen joining their board. They have Goldman Sachs investing. They're growing like crazy. Every cool startup that I can think of is signing up to be a Carta customer. I mean, this is the future of the industry. And I think where it all is headed could be a really exciting place for you and me, which is unlocking the cap table of these private companies. And so this is why I think Carta is a company to watch. I mean, they're so fascinating in so many different ways. And I think they should be on all of your radars. And I also want to make a pitch that Henry Ward, CEO of Carta, founder, I think the company is incredible, and you should definitely come on Hyperchange and do a podcast to talk about what you're building, because I think it's fascinating. And I also have a moonshot where I think like all companies doing roadshows should be doing like if you're Slack, if you're Lyft, and why are you doing a private roadshow for investment bankers in a room that nobody can watch? You should be doing podcasts with Hyperchange. Like every company that's about to IPO should do a podcast with Hyperchange and go through their investment deck with me, get tens of thousands of views, be way better marketing and understanding for their IPO for free. Like it's just, there's so much exciting potential. Anyway, that's just my moonshot. Is I think Hyperchange and Carta could work together a lot in the future as well. But anyway, this is Hyperchange. Thank you so much for tuning in. Huge shout out to all of our Patreon supporters, producers, fun in the channel. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about Carta, and I'll see you next time. Peace.